What is going on in Ireland is a travesty.
Conor McGregor in Washington D.C. for the annual St. Patrick's Day celebrations. Well, what's not to love? He found himself in the spotlight, not for his fighting prowess, but for his comments about what he's calling Ireland's illegal immigration racket. Hi, I'm Patrick Christie's and this is GBN Originals. So, McGregor, the controversial figure who's managed to offend and amaze in equal measure over the years, has turned his sights on his home country, Ireland, and the way that it's handling, or really not handling, immigration. Not exactly the kind of thing that you'd maybe expect to hear from someone who's known for his more flashy suits and colourful language than his diplomacy. So, what actually happened? Well, why is McGregor in the White House? Why is his visit sparking such backlash in Ireland? And what exactly is the illegal immigration racket he's talking about? So, 18,500 people applied for asylum in 2024. That is the highest figure since record began. There was a 94% rise in asylum seekers in the first 6 months of 2024. And I invite you to do this now. Get your phone out, your laptop or whatever you're doing and Google the words Ireland and asylum seeker and just see what comes up. And I'll read this out for you now. As many as 150,000 people moved to Ireland in 2023-2024. These according to Central Statistics Offices. The highest number in 17 years. I think those people, most of them were actually there legally, but it's still an astonishing high number when you consider that Ireland's population itself is only about 5.3 million. There are nearly 33,000 international protection applicants, I think that's asylum seekers really to you and me, housed across the nation. They are mostly from Africa and the Middle East. Each costs about £70 a day, a figure that's increased by a third in 2 years. And guess where most of them have been put? Most of them have been put in some of the poorest areas around Dublin. And there have been well-reported cases of fights in the streets, a breakdown in law and order, people not feeling safe. You know where else they've been put very often as well? Hotels in the middle of nowhere. Rural communities. Ireland, of course, a very rural country. People find that their local hotel is now just a dumping ground for illegal migrants. And as there are many videos to attest to this fact, there has been a lot of civil unrest as a result of this. People saying that Irish patriots, men, women, children, taking to the streets to protest at what they see as the mass importation, both legally and illegally, of people who have no real connection to Ireland at great expense to the Irish taxpayer. So that's where McGregor's coming from, and he met with President Trump at the White House this week. And the conversation very quickly shifted to what McGregor is describing as a travesty back in his home country. Standing before reporters, the now 36-year-old fighter didn't hold back. I mean, when does he ever? Claiming that Ireland's government is doing zero to address the issues surrounding illegal migration. He said that Ireland was on the brink of losing its national identity due to the influx of people coming to the country without proper legal checks. A man who is known maybe more for his rants on Twitter and, of course, his devastating form in the octagon than his more nuanced political analysis, is now calling for the United States to intervene in Irish immigration policy. Hey, what's next? A UFC match between McGregor and the Irish government? I would pay to see that. Of course, McGregor's comments haven't gone down too well with Ireland's political elite. And should we all just spare a moment for Ireland's political elite? I'll do. Okay. Taoiseach Michael Martin was quick to respond, slamming McGregor for his wrong remarks, insisting that the views expressed do not reflect the spirit of St. Patrick's Day, or more importantly, the views of the Irish people. With respect to the Irish Taoiseach, I am not 100% sure that tens of thousands of blokes from the Middle East and Africa also accurately reflect the spirit of St. Patrick's Day, but there we go. Martin didn't mince his words, saying that McGregor doesn't speak for Ireland. He doesn't speak for Ireland, apparently. Deputy Prime Minister Simon Harris, he took it one step further, stating that McGregor had no mandate to speak on behalf of the country. I would just politely suggest again to Simon Harris that he might not want to poke the bear on this one. You never know. If Conor McGregor did decide to stand for election, maybe he would have a bigger mandate than Simon Harris, pun intended. So you've got the political establishment on one side, you've got McGregor, a man known for his larger-than-life persona, on the other. Well, who's right? Okay, well, let's face it. Look, McGregor has always been a man of extremes. his career, his personal life, his political views are all marked by an unapologetic, sometimes, well, what would you describe it as? Maybe full-frontal boldness, I suppose you could say. And while that has earned him millions of fans, and I mean, I'm not sure of the exact number of this, but I suspect hundreds of millions of pounds and dollars, it's also earned him plenty of critics. McGregor is not backing down. In an interview exclusively with Sky News, he hit back at the criticism. He said, shame on him for saying that, speaking down on an Irish man. I think I'm right in saying he also kind of laid a thinly veiled threat to slap him about a bit, but oh well, that's what he does best, isn't it? It seems that McGregor isn't just taking aim at the Irish government, he's taking aim at anyone who dares to challenge it. He argues that every metric available shows that the Irish government has failed the people. That's a bold statement. It's bold, isn't it? From a man who's, accustomed to throwing punches, slightly more so maybe than making policy. However, the other argument would be maybe he's more plugged in, actually, to your average common man and woman on the street. Maybe he is more of a man of the people, actually, than some of the politicians there. So what exactly is McGregor accusing the Irish state of, the government? Well, he's essentially saying that the Irish government has opened the floodgates to illegal immigration. Well, he's right about that. And that this influx of undocumented individuals is eroding the country's identity. Well, you could argue that he's right about that as well, isn't he? I mean, quite famously, Ireland has a very proud national identity and one that they've not been shy of defending, or indeed, some would argue, trying to reclaim in the past. And now you have a massive influx of people from countries that don't have the shared religion or culture, I suppose you could say, of Ireland. Well, that is going to have an impact on the country, isn't it? It's also, of course, a massive problem when it comes to safety. People don't feel safe. Have sexual assaults gone up in Ireland, for example? Has shoplifting gone up? Has violent crime gone up? Well, I suspect it quite possibly has. Now, immigration is a serious issue in many countries, of course, and Ireland is no exception. The rise of undocumented immigrants is a real concern for many. But is McGregor fair in the way that he's framing this issue? Is the Irish government really doing nothing? Well, let's not forget, McGregor isn't entirely a neutral observer here. He's got his own reasons, maybe, for wanting to bring the issue to the fore. He's a self-made millionaire, possibly a billionaire, a man who's spent a significant amount of time in the US. He's deeply tied to the American-Irish connection. He's called America the big brother of Ireland, and in his mind, I think, that means the US should have a vested interest in Ireland's prosperity and, by extension, its immigration policies. Now, Trump's involvement in this saga makes things even more complicated. The president has long had a soft spot for Conor McGregor, and the two men have shared some quite interesting moments over the years. In fact, Trump has previously praised McGregor's tattoos, said he's his favourite Irish person. Oh, it's a bad day out for Joe Biden, isn't it, that? But anyway, so it's no surprise that McGregor has given a seat at the table with Trump to discuss these very issues. Let's not forget, though, folks, hey, McGregor's got a bit of a checkered past, hasn't he? There have been assault charges, allegations of sexual assault as well. McGregor has certainly made headlines at times for the wrong reasons. Not exactly the kind of figure you might necessarily expect to lead a national conversation on immigration policy. I suppose the other side to that is there are a load of politicians who are out-and-out rampant criminals and fraudsters with unbelievably sordid private lives, aren't there? So when you look at some of the people that we've seen actually in office and what they've got up to, really, what McGregor's maybe done or been accused of doing in the past is possibly, certainly nothing worse. But anyway, that's Conor McGregor. He's always at the centre of controversy, for better or for worse. We've got McGregor, an MMA superstar with no real political experience, calling out the Irish government for its handling on immigration, and the Irish government, led by figures like Michael Martin, pushing back hard against McGregor's views. Well, McGregor, he might be passionate. I think he might be right, to be honest with you, about quite a lot of what he has to say. When you've got the Taoiseach calling your statements wrong, well, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how he reacts to that, won't it? What's clear is that Conor McGregor's saga is far from over. Whether he's fighting in the octagon or fighting for political influence, this man knows how to make a splash. But the question is this: should we be listening to him? Is he just a fighter talking like a politician? Or does he genuinely, really want to see some significant improvements in his country? Is he lining up a bit, seriously, to go into politics, to try to run that country? And would you trust him to do so? Thank you very much for watching. This has been Patrick Christie's. Don't forget to subscribe to the GB News YouTube channel for more.